Hi guys, so today I'm extremely excited to share my game with you all from yesterday's Family Chess Olympiad 4th edition. It was such a lovely tournament, extremely well organized, and huge shout out to Chessmates Club and Sir Alam Sher for making it possible for all of us to join each other in that tournament and have a lot of fun. And part of the reason that I'm doing a video on this is because this game is against the National Master from Islamabad, NM Liaquat Ali. It's always an honor to play against the national master. You always get to learn a lot from your game. So let's dive into this and see how it went. So it was round two, and on table two, he decides to go with e4, and I just immediately played c5. Before the tournament, I had a little bit of, preparation for the Sicilian, but mainly I decided to go for the e5, knight f3, knight f6 setup. But here I just decided to go for the fight, so I decided to play the Sicilian. So in round two, Sicilian defense is on the board. Knight f3, d6, d4, c takes, d4, knight takes, d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, and then a6 is the Sicilian Najdorf, which is what I play mainly when I choose to play Sicilian. I sometimes play Dragon, but usually it's the Najdorf that I really love to play. The reason is that it's really sharp and fighting opening that gives a lot of chances to the black for the win. So he decides to go with f3, which is the English attack against the Najdorf. There are as many as I think 9 to 10 different setups that white can choose to play against the Najdorf. English attack is one of them. The idea is to place the bishop on e3, queen on d2, long castle, and play g4, h4, pawn storm on the king side, and try to checkmate uh, black on the king side, while black tries to do the similar thing on the queen side. And whoever gets the faster attack usually wins the game. That's why Sicilians is considered to be extremely sharp in fighting opening. It gives a lot of chances to both sides. If we compare it to some other solid setup against e4, such as the Petrov. So I decided to have this, and I had this. So I decided to go with e5, kicking the knight away. The move a6 in Najdorf is really important because it controls the b5 square. So now when we play e5, the knight is not allowed to jump to b5 square and cause trouble for us. So he has to go knight to b3, and then bishop e7, bishop e3, bishop to e6, queen d2, like all going according to the plan. I short castled and he long castles. Now the next moves would be that he would try to launch a pawn storm on the king side. I'll try to do the same, putting my knight here, maybe trying to go for c5 or b6. But here, I would just give a huge shout out to Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky for introducing a really tricky line in one of his speedrun game. He goes for e5 here, and I decided to copy that and go for this tricky line, which is not considered to be great for black, but it's really tricky. The idea is to just kick the knights away from their position right now, so that an early attack could be generated against the white king. So he has to go a4 to stop the further advance of the a pawn. But by doing so, he just weakens the b4 square a lot. So the knight, which I deliberately decide to not develop as of yet, it usually goes to the c6 or d7 square in the normal Najdorfs. But here, you deliberately delay the development of the knight so that it can be it can be used to it can be used to attack the enemy king by going to a6 and then b4 square. So he goes king b1, which is a good move. You just want to get out of the semi-open c file, and I decided to put my knight in b4, and then he continues with his normal plan, which is to go for g4, h4, and pawn storm on the king side. So I just prophylactically brought my knight back to d7 so that he doesn't gain a tempo on the knight by playing g5. So he develops his bishop to b5, which is a nice move. Bishop is nicely guarded by the a4 pawn. Uh, then I just developed my rook to c8, where rook and knight are coordinating really nicely on the c2 square. So in case this knight decides to maneuver around to f5 square, then the c2 pawn would be a really weak point in the white's position. So he goes rook c1, where he is prophylactically defending the c2 pawn. I decided to sacrifice my a5 pawn to open up some lines against the white king. So currently the pawn was protected by the queen here on d8. But after I played knight to b6, suddenly the pawn is sacrificed because knight can simply capture it. But the main idea behind knight to b6 is to plunge the knight into the c4 square, where it will be forking white's queen and bishop. And if white is forced to give up his bishop pair, then it would be really hard for him to continue his attack on the king side here. So he really had to take the knight here, I think, and just play positionally without the bishop pair and try to defend his position on the king side, and then maybe try to generate some play on the king side. But he decided to take the bait and he captured the sacrifice pawn on a5. But this allowed me a combination which I prepared. I decided to take on a4, sacrificing my knight once again, but also discovering an attack on the white's knight with the queen. So he decides to take another pawn on b7 and hits my queen, but then it gives me just enough time to take his knight on c3 with the check. So he has no time to capture my queen. He has to first capture the knight, and here he decided to take it with the queen, which is obviously bad, because in the end of the line his bishop on e3 would be hanging. I expected him to take with the, I think, with the pawn, and then maybe try to, I would save my queen and try to generate some attack on the open b and a files. But here he decided to take with the queen, and after I took his queen, he took my queen. His bishop is hanging on e3, which he completely forgot about, and I captured the bishop. He tried to kick my knight away with c3. I just moved my knight to d3, where it's protected by the rook. He decided to capture my bishop on e6. I captured, and then he goes saves his rook by playing a rook to c2. I grabbed another pawn, and he decided to just maneuver his bishop to this diagonal where it can attack my king, but I just simply saved the e6 pawn with my king. He decided to use his the passed pawn to generate some sort of play on the some kind of play on the queen side here, but simply moving the knight back, trying to break in with this pawn was a good enough idea here. So I decided to first save this pawn, which was under attack by both of the rooks, and then I decided to break in the center with the move d5. He captures, I captured back, he moves his bishop away, and then I just started to roll my pawns up the board. He goes with this rook here so that he could move his king away, and then the rook would be, facilitating the pawn going down the board to become another queen. But here I just decided to simplify by taking this rook. He captures, I took with this rook, and here he just pushed his pawn, but allowed knight d3 check. The only moves are king a1 or a2, and after that, rook to a3 would be checkmate, because it would be guarded by this Najdorf bishop that I placed on e7 square really early in the game. Usually in the Najdorf, this bishop has to play in some sort of defensive role, but here it just plays the most important role to, you know, it put a lot of pressure on the enemy king on the queen side, and in the end, in this position, Enem Liakatali resigns, and it was a really nice victory for me. I'm so proud of deciding to play a Najdorf and beating a national master in this. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from it. And if you guys want to learn more, you can just hit me up anytime, and I'm always up for discussion on chess and stuff. So yeah, this was a really nice game. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. So that's it. Thank you guys.